I'm Karen, owner of Aqualush and Reptilush, and I'm going to be doing a video on setting up a BioLive terrarium. I'm going to start by just gluing my rock towers together that I want in the base. I'm going to do a 3-layer substrate and hopefully show you how it's done, but it is my first time. Hi again, I thought I'd just go through some of the elements that I've bought and show you. I've got a super fogger, some rocks, I've got a night heat lamp. I'm actually going to use a thermostat on the heating cables that I'm going to put in the base. And then I've got a 3-in-1 lamp, which is for plant growth, UVB, UVA. A waterfall kit, which you'll see me fitting onto cork. I've got bioactive filtration and drainage. My second layer is going to be the forest base for my poisoned arrow dart frogs. And I've actually got a forest floor cocoa base with some leaves as well to go on the top, because this is a natural vivarium. And then we've got some other elements, some moss, and that's going to go round bits of wooden waterfalls. And then I've got a frog house that I'm going to fill with moss, hygrometer, thermometer, and the elements of the waterfall right there as well. Right, the other thing I want to cover is just the canopy top that I'll be using and the lights. So we've got 2 opportunities to heat and light. So I'm using a night heat lamp on one end of the canopy, as you can see, and I'm using the Terrarium 3-in-1 lamp on the other side. Alright, we've got some cork for the back. I've taken out the polystyrene backing so I can grow some natural moss around the waterfall, which is going to come out and go across that Mapani wood. Then I've got some essential elements for later, some glass cleaner. Need to check the temperatures regularly as well. So that's the kind of kit that you might want to consider putting into your terrarium. Right, the heating cable that I'm using is this one, Reptile Systems. And Microclimate Mini Stat 100 to control the temperature. So I've got some AquaSafe silicone that I'm just going to use on the rocks. Stick the pebbles down, leave it for 24 hours so it can cure. I kind of had a design in mind when I did it, so now I'm just sticking them all together and making sure they're nice and secure. So in this terrarium I'm going to have some poison arrow dart frogs and a red-eyed crocodile skink. So it's going to be a live terrarium, so it'll have plenty of bugs in as well to help clean the substrate. So I'm going to have wood lice, and various other bugs like springtails, in order to help keep the terrarium clean. As you can see, I'm using plenty of silicone because I really don't want these to fall and break the glass. You see people do this at beaches without any silicone at all. I don't know how they do that, so I'm just going to carry on with the silicone. I'm actually going to seal the edges of the stones as well, which you'll see in a moment. So that's one of my first rock towers. And now I'm going to leave that to cure, and then I'm going to seal all the way around the edges just to make sure it's absolutely secure. I'm going to do the same with another one in a moment. Okay, I've chosen my cork background instead of the polystyrene one, and I've decided that my waterfall's going to go pretty much central, but my piece of Mapani wood, if the water came out here, is just going to dribble all over the place. So I borrowed one of my husband's tools, and I'm just going to increase some of the grooves so the water comes down and through and follows the natural line of the wood for the waterfall. Right, as I was doing this, my husband popped in and reminded me I should be wearing safety goggles, so I'm going to carry on, but with safety goggles I would recommend them, to be fair. Little shards of wood, pretty dangerous for your eyes, but yeah, I'm going to carry on and just cut a few more channels. And there we go, I'm happy with that, and hopefully you can see that all I've done is basically cut the V so the water flows down into these two elements here and follows the natural flow of the wood, but the V has just been cut. There you go, to force the water down the channel and come off this plane and this plane. Mapani is a beautiful wood, multicoloured. And then, as I say, I'm going to cut a channel and I'll be sticking it there, so as the waterfall comes down, it'll then flow through and off these woods. Right, on the cork, because it's nice and soft, I've actually given up with the power tool. I'm just going to cut it out with the Stanley blade, a bit quicker, and the tile, as I say, is made out of cork bark, so it's nice and soft. So I'm just going to carry on digging out my channel for my Mapani waterfall with a Stanley knife. Again, watch your hands. And as I say, the waterfall outlet will be just above the Mapani wood. And as you can see, it's very soft indeed, so it's actually quite easy with the Stanley knife. Cutting a nice V so I can silicone the Mapani in. And excuse my whiny German Shepherd if you can hear her. That's Shadow. Would much prefer me to be playing, as would Blake, our rescue German Shepherd. You can hear her whining in the background. Okay, so that's my channel that I'm cutting through for the Mapani wood piece, and it will go just there, so I'm just going to carry on cutting. Okay, I'm sure you don't want to be bored watching me just cut a channel, so I'll be back once it's done. Right guys, I'm just showing you a close-up of the grooves I've made for the Mapani wood waterfall in the cork bark. Hopefully you can see that. And then this sits nicely in there, like so. And now I'm going to silicone that in. Okay, I'm just going to silicone my Mapani wood waterfall into the cork. And again, on such a nice sunny day, it's going to set quite quickly, but we won't be using this until tomorrow when it's fully set. So again, a good dollop. I don't really want that to be coming out any time and having to go back in and having to try and re-glue it when there's creatures in the tank. So Just switch it around a wee bit. Try and keep it square so the water comes off here and here. But it doesn't really matter if the water drips off anywhere from this Mapani wood. And that, I'm just going to leave to set. See you in a bit. Right, what I'm trying to show you now, just as a close-up, is the finished ceiling of the Mapani wood waterfall. And whilst I don't mind it running down the cork, and some of it will naturally, I prefer it to follow the channels and the natural contours of the wood. Right, just the last thing I want to do tonight is put some 3D elements on the cork. So I'm just going to stick these on, and this will be the last element before we call it a day. And there we go. Okay, I'm doing a bit of a cheat at this point. It does take quite a while to do, which is why I haven't done it on video, but I've just laid the substrate heating cable. You do need to read the instructions, make sure you haven't got any overlaps, and utilise all of the suckers they've given you really to keep it a nice big loop at the ends. And then you'll see a red mark on this particular cable, which still needs to be below the substrate, and then of course the wire goes up and out and through your cable holders at the top of your terrarium. So you can actually utilise, because it's got plenty, the odd spare one that you have for any other cables. And this heat cable underneath the substrate will be attached to a thermostat to ensure that we can control the heat and don't let it just go wild. So now what I'm going to do is just place the waterfall heater right in the back corner, and then again just feed those cables up and out of the terrarium. I'm actually going to connect the tubes to the waterfall once the cork background and waterfall is in place. I'm just trying to set up the basics now inside, ready for the substrate and water. Right, I just wanted to show you, I don't know whether you can see or not, but these suckers on this particular make of heating cable has clips and availability for the use of other things. So obviously I've used the second space in that clip to put the waterfall, which is now ready, in the bottom right hand corner. So I've got all the plugs going out the same side, and I've nicked one of their sucky clips as well, just for the probe for the heat mat.